First down.
Sports games account for a huge percentage of video game revenues every year, even nowadays when we're down to only 1 or 2 yearly releases for every major sport. And you can trace all of that directly to John Madden Football on the Genesis. Sure, there were other sports games before this one. Heck, this isn't even the first John Madden Football game in existence. But the Genesis version really seemed to set the genre on a path to critical mass. It is on the shoulders of its success that the Madden series went on to spawn 20-plus sequels and counting, birthing the powerhouse EA Sports brand and countless other franchises along the way. NHL Hockey, NBA Live, PGA Tour, FIFA Soccer, and so on and so forth. While the PC versions of most of these games fell by the wayside, the console releases have kept going strong for the most part.
Set. Hut. Hut. Hut.
A handful of other game publishers started sports labels in the mid-90s as well, not the least of which was Sega itself, and it is all due to EA's success.
Set. Hut.
Madden Football started life in 1984 on the Apple II computer. Creating a realistic football simulation had been a passion of EA founder Trip Hawkins since he was a teenager, addicted to a paper and dice football game called Stratomatic. He created his first computer football simulation as a student in the mid-70s. Years later, after founding Electronic Arts, Hawkins was ready to try again, and the name on the box was going to be Joe Montana. Yeah, it's true. Trip Hawkins wanted Joe Montana on his football game. Montana was Hawkins' hero, but he already had an endorsement deal with Atari at the time.
44.
Hawkins' second choice, Cal football coach Joe Kapp, was also out. Hawkins' third choice, Super Bowl winning coach and famous television analyst John Madden, and he was all the way in.
Touchdown.
Except, according to an ESPN Outside the Lines feature in 2010, Madden wasn't interested unless the game was as real as it could be. That was a deal breaker, he said. If it was going to be me and it was going to be pro football, it had to have 22 guys on the screen. If we couldn't have that, we couldn't have a game.
It's good.
He'd supply the plays and the NFL connections, but it had to be 11-on-11 football. Something the Apple II struggled with, as you can see. Enter Troy Linden and Mike Knox of Park Place Productions, who had recently developed ABC Monday Night Football on the Amiga and Commodore 64 for Data East, which was released in 1989. They approached Hawkins regarding creating a football game for Sega's Genesis, but rather than focusing entirely on simulation, they wanted to balance it with a bit more arcade-style action. They would rebuild the game from the ground up.
It's good.
Hawkins was sold, and Park Place began production. In that same ESPN article, producer Rich Hillman explained, "With Genesis Madden, we wanted to emphasize what makes football exciting, not perfectly replicate the brutality of a 3.1 yard per carry running game."
Touchdown.
Park Place Productions replaced the top-down view from the original Madden with a pseudo 3D field and the clunky passing system with a revolutionary real-time 3-window receiver camera that gave the user full view of the most important players on the field at all times. The results are history. Madden became a surprise smash hit for the Genesis. Nowadays, footage of this original game isn't all that impressive. No NFL license, no variable weather, and limited playbooks. Heck, it doesn't even feature every team.
It's good.
But there was simply nothing like it on home consoles at the time, and the perfect mixture of simulation and on-field action made the game that much more accessible for casuals while satiating the hardcore football crowd. Plus, while the game didn't feature a franchise or a full season mode, Park Place did manage to put in a full playoff feature, so gameplay had a bit more depth than playing one single game after another.
28, 57.
One last bit of trivia from that ESPN story. When the Apple II game was released in 1988, Trip Hawkins apparently approached John Madden and offered to let him buy as much EA stock as he would like at the initial public offering price. Madden turned down the offer. In the first 10 years after going public, EA stock went from $7.50 a share to $70 a share. Oops.